Morning, guys. You want to stand with us? Come on and sing it out. That once was crowned with thorns is crowned with glory now. The Savior knelt to wash your feet. Now at his feet we bow. The one who wore our sin now robed in majesty, radiance of perfect love now shines for all to see. Come on now. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. Fear that held us now gives way. To him is our peace. His final breath upon the cross is now alive in me. Amen. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. Your name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. By your Spirit I will rise from the ashes of defeat. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. In your name I come alive to declare your victory. The resurrected King is resurrected. Come on now. By your Spirit I will rise from the ashes of defeat. The resurrected King is resurrecting. In your name I come alive to declare your victory. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. By your Spirit I will rise from the ashes. was borrowed for 3 days, right? Would not remain. Our God is around the grave. Our God is around the grave. Oh, yes, He has. Yes, He Come on, give me praise. Amen. You may have a seat.
Love it. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, band. Way to kick it off. That's awesome. Welcome this morning to New Vintage. Good to see you all. I wasn't sure if you're going to start clapping there or not, Lee. I wasn't sure, so I'm just going to keep going myself. Everybody looks so great today. You look great. This room got painted this week. It's white and fresh. I hope you're feeling alive this morning. My name's Darren. I'm the pastor here, one of the pastors here, and we'll be hosting you this morning. We usually sing a few songs. We're here for about an hour. This is my good friend Leanne.
Good morning.
This is Leanne's first time ever hosting here at New Vintage. That's right, shout that out. But Leanne, it's not your first time here. You've been going here how long?
For almost 17 years.
17 years, that's crazy. I've been here almost 17 weeks, and so feel really
He's catching up.
welcome. It's going good. But Leanne, this isn't your first time being a part of the service either. A few months ago, we did a series called Find Out What Happens When You Don't Give Up, and we gave this big painting to Leanne and your husband David because you guys haven't given up in the midst of some craziness. Tell us about, give us the latest. We've been praying for you guys.
Well, do you want the long version or like the really short version?
Like a medium.
Medium
If you do like a
version.
medium.
Medium
You have a
version.
medium version?
Yeah.
All right.
So about 2.5 years ago, my husband needed a heart transplant, and during the transplant workup, they found cancer in his lymph nodes. So we ended up having to get an LVAD. Halfway through the cancer treatment, his heart failed. So he has a power cord that sticks out his stomach and attaches to batteries. So he's attached to the wall or batteries to keep his heart going.
Yeah, and he's here today, so it's just a very long extension cord that they
Dragging
Dave,
around
is that right,
with him.
Dave? It's just a long. No, it's not even funny.
Yeah, we call him the Wolverine because he just doesn't give up. So
Yeah.
we're on track now for a transplant within the next month or two. So,
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And he told me this morning he's going to be here heckling you in the room, so he hasn't lost his sense of humor or any of that.
No,
so
he's not.
it's still a pain in the butt sometimes,
Yeah,
right?
pretty much.
Yeah, great. Well, we're excited. And in the middle of all that Leanne's going through, she decided, I think I'm also going to become a small group leader for Inside Out and lead high school students this year too. So
Thank you.
how's that going?
Well, when you've been coming here for 17 years and you sit in the back of the room and then you decide one day to sign up for something, it's super scary. And so, I jumped out there in that, and I have to tell you, if you are not leading or volunteering or serving in a middle school or high school group, you're missing out, because my group of girls, I swear they're teaching me more than I could ever teach them, and it has been so amazing, so amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you did nothing for 17 years. So
Pretty much. Sat in the back.
don't be like Leanne. No, kidding. Sometimes it takes a while to just decide I'm going to do it. And then you get comfortable and you get your spot, and you have your seat, and you start wearing it out. But if you're somebody that you've got a faith and you have a strong faith and you think I could add some value, we're looking for some middle school and high school volunteers to be small group leaders where you could pour into the kids and give them direction and wisdom for their lives. And so if you've got a faith of your own and your faith is strong and you want to fill that role, that's great. But even if you're new to faith and you're like your faith is in process and you're not sure where you are in your faith, or you're still struggling in your faith, there's places to serve. There's places to serve in this church. With middle school and high school, we're looking for guest services and production, and we're looking for folks over in the kids building, the kids ministry, to watch kids, to hang out with kids. There's lots of places to serve. Everybody gets background checked. There's all kinds of places. Don't be somebody who doesn't get connected because you're not sure where to go. Fill out the form, go to the QR code, fill it out, and let us know who you are and ways that you're just interested in serving, and we'll connect with you. So.
And if you're new to church or you just have questions about God or about your faith and you're wondering what do you do next, we have one or two, possibly two starting point groups starting on Sunday, May 16th. So if you're just wondering what's next and have questions, sign up for Starting Point. It is a great starting point for when you don't know what to do next.
Yeah, that's perfect. We've had over 30 people go through Starting Point just in the last few weeks, and so they love it. It's going so well, so great. If you have questions or you just are starting in faith, it's a great place for you to plug in. The last thing is May 14th. It's a Friday night. We're going to have a night of worship right here in this room. It's going to be unbelievable. We're having people get baptized. We have 7 people being baptized. If you're thinking about baptism, you can sign up through that QR code as well. Just hit that button. Let us know you'd like to get baptized. We'll connect with you. It's going to be an unbelievable night. A friend of mine named Seth Condry will be here that night, leading with Jeff and the rest of the band. Seth wrote the song Death Was Arrested, if you ever heard that song. Seth and I used to work with high school students back in Atlanta. We both moved out West Coast, Best Coast, and so now he's in San Francisco. He's coming up here, and we're going to hang out that night. It's going to be an unbelievable night of worship and celebration together. So mark that on your calendars, May 14th, Friday night. It's going to be awesome. So that's it.
Can't wait. So you guys go ahead, stand up, stretch out, get out your worship arms, and let's go.
Let's go. Let's go.
Thanks.
Overcome this world with love. Made my fight your own. And I lift my eyes, throw fear aside, and sing out into the night. So when the world caves, even when the fight calls, even when the wars wage, I'll take heart, 'cause I know you are greater, forever you are Savior, and I will sing your praise with all that I have, with all that I am, Lord. Speak down the waves, 'cause you own the tide. Still my soul, I know. Wait for me on waters Come on and declare. And I'll walk through the fire and not be burned. Pray in the fight and watch it turn. Jesus, tonight I give it all to you. Come on, from your hearts. And I won't let the storm weather my heart. Won't let the darkness beat me down. Singing the night all the night. And I'll walk through the fire. Come on now. Amen. By the power of your own blood, you have won my innocence. And in the power of the cross, you've forgotten all my sin. That's facts right there. Now on my heart His word is written, forgiven, forgiven. On my heart this word is written, forgiven, forgiven. No guilt or shame can hold me. I'm covered by your mercy. On my heart this word is written, forgiven, forgiven, forgiven. By the scars, foot and hands, every trace of guilt is gone. And in your freedom, here I stand. You've renamed me a child of God. Yes, in your freedom, here I stand. You've renamed me a child of God. Now on my heart this word is written, forgiven, forgiven. On my heart this word is written, forgiven, forgiven. No guilt or shame can hold me. I'm covered by your mercy. On my heart this word is written, forgiven, forgiven. We are forgiven. You cannot be erased, cannot be undone. This is your final word for me, and I believe it. You cannot be erased, cannot be undone. This is your final word for me, and I believe it. You cannot be erased, cannot be undone. This is your final word for me, and I believe it. Word is written, even, even on my heart. This word is written, even, even. No guilt or shame can hold me. I'm covered by your mercy. On my heart, word is written, forgiven, This is your final word. This is your final word for us. Come on and lift it up. Now on my heart this word is. Sing it out. Forgiven, declare it. Forgiven on my heart this word is written. Forgiven, no guilt or shame can hold me, 'cause I'm covered by your mercy. On my heart this word is written. Forgiven. Amen. Give him thanks for that. Nice. So yeah, that's the truth. That's facts, right? We're talking about facts. That's facts right there. I wanted to share something with you guys. And now deep thoughts with Jeff. Yep, here I go again. So I had this revelation yesterday or whatever. I had a rough couple days, and Thursday and Friday, and it just kept compounding, and it seems like every time the phone rang, it was something bad, or every time something happened, it was something bad. Bad news here, bad news there, that fell through, this and that, and I was like, I just kept declaring these negative things over my life. I'm never going to do this. Why always me? Well, God can never forgive me. I'll never get that promotion. Exactly. And so just complaining and negative, I'm like, man, I must really be infecting people around me. And so yesterday, I woke up and I said, I'm going to try something different today. This is the truth. I'm not like, this isn't like fluff. This has really happened. I woke up yesterday and I was like, I'm going to try something different. I'm going to say, I'm tall. I mean, maybe that's a stretch. But I'm going to say, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to get that job. I'm good looking. I'm smart. People like me. Remember Stuart Smalley? Doggone it, people like me. Anyway, it was like that. And you know what? This is truth. I started doing that. I was walking around my house like a crazy person. Just declaring positive things over my life. Phone rings, good news. Right? A text, good news. My son calls from Santa Barbara, good news. Coincidence? I don't think so. So if that encourages anybody here today, if you're saying negative things over your life, it's time to stop. Because we are forgiven. He sees us as holy through Jesus Christ, and you are his beloved. So start telling those things to yourself, okay? All throughout my history, faithfulness walks beside me. Storms and wait for spring. Every season from where I'm staying. Here we go. I see the evidence of your goodness all over my life, all over my life. I see your promises in fulfillment. Come on, give me praise this morning. Amen. That was beautiful. You guys sound great. God bless you. Take a load off, have a seat, and check this out.
Where do we come from? Is there really a God? What about other religions? What about Jesus? How can you know for sure? Is faith just blind? Can the Bible be trusted? Am I really supposed to believe in the supernatural? All these questions are a normal part of our journey toward faith. If you're not asking questions, you're probably not even trying. But the good news, these questions have reasonable answers. So let's discover together the facts that make up our faith.
Well, good morning, New Vintage. You came, you're here, or you're watching online. Every week as I'm getting ready and the week is going on and Sunday's coming, I think to myself, no one's coming. They're not going to show up. And so I honestly, I stand before you, and this is for real. Like, I'm always so grateful when there are human beings in front of me to actually listen to something. So I mean that. I'm not joking about that. I know I joke about a lot of things, but it's a big deal that you would allow me to say anything into your life. So and to trust me at all. And I mean, those of you that do trust me, I'm sure there are plenty in here that are like, I'm not listening, bro. But I'm grateful that you're here. So every week I'm excited. We're wrapping up a series called Facts, and we're calling it Facts because young people today, when they agree with something, they say, facts, like that's true. And some of the young people are like, I don't say that anymore. That's old. That was last month. I don't say that now. But I just want to clarify for those of you that are older, it's not fax machine. It's not like the, fax machine, but bro, like it's not FAX. So don't go around being like, yeah, fax, and you're thinking someone's going to send you a message. That's not it. Facts, these are the reasons for our faith. Like, why do we believe what we believe? What's faith anyway? Faith is the hope. It's the assurance of what we hope for. It's the assurance of what we hope for, and it's the conviction of what we haven't yet seen. In other words, faith is that thing that gives us confidence that our hope is really going to be met, that Jesus is really who he says he is. It's more than belief. It's like this. It's what gets you through the storms and the difficulties, the challenges of life. It's this confidence that God is who we find him to be. But a lot of people think that it's just made up blind faith. It's just, you just believe that because somebody told you, which is true for some people. But for me, faith isn't blind. Faith is based on evidence, manuscript evidence for the Bible, historical evidence, biological evidence, eyewitness accounts. Even the faulty claims of some other things give evidence and credibility. You can put a lot of things on the witness stand and say, I think there's I think you can, beyond a reasonable doubt, you could say that the Christian faith has credible evidence to make it believable. I think that's what we're doing. Because what I don't want for all of us is that we just say, well, to believe in God, I just got to throw out my brain. I mean, you don't even think if you're a Christian. You just trust it because somebody said it. I don't want that to be the case. I want us to be able to think through it, talk through it, reason through this whole idea of faith. And so the reason we're doing this is because, there's a lot of people in the world that have doubts. There's a lot of people that aren't sure. There's a lot of people that are still wondering if this stuff is really true. And in fact, if you're somebody in the room or you're watching online and somebody said, watch this, it's about what you don't believe, like it's all the doubts, like you need to watch this, and you're like, oh my gosh, now I definitely don't want to watch it because the Christian person I know in my life is, pouring this down in my throat. Like, if you're watching and you're still watching, thank you. But, if you're somebody who's like atheism is your thing and you still don't believe there's a God, and I don't think there is a God, there couldn't be a God, I just want you to know that my heart kind of, like, I care about you. My heart breaks for you. I know you don't even need me to. In fact, you probably don't even want me to care about you in that way. Like, you don't need my pity. You're not like, oh, yeah, the Christian guy cares about me. Like, you don't need that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, I want you to have a connection with the God that I get to experience because I think it's real, and I think it's good for you. And I think sometimes when we don't believe in God, oftentimes it's because of what the church did, first of all, right? Like, the church hurt you. The church did something, the church said something, or there was never a good reason. The church never gave you a good reason to believe it anyway. And so it's like, I don't see any good reason. But my question is, if we examine the evidence, if we really look at it together, and if we go, okay, there is some credible evidence for the resurrection. There is some credible evidence for the authenticity of the Bible. And if you trust all of history, you kind of have to trust the Bible as being what it said it was, because we trust history. And then last week we talked about creation. I just said, listen, I'm not saying that evolution is or isn't true. I'm saying it's not necessarily as solid of an argument as we want people to think. In fact, some of the leading evolutionists over the years have honestly come to the conclusion that, we didn't find what we thought we were going to find. Anthony Flew is one example. If you missed that last week, read his book, There Is No God, which he crossed out and said there is a God. He didn't even say it was Jesus. He just said, listen, I'm the leading evolutionist in all the world, and if I'm honest, we haven't really found what I thought we were going to find. I'm just saying it's not as strong. So maybe there is an argument for God. I just wonder what it is that keeps you, if you're listening, if you're watching, and you're just not willing to budge on your belief that there's no God. What is it that keeps you there? I wonder if it's the same thing that kept me as an Android user for a long time. I was an Android user for a long time, and people would talk to me about the iPhone, and I just messed with. I was like, yeah, iPhone, you're just part of that cult. You don't have a brain of your own. You just use that because everybody else is doing it, And I would be like all about the Android system, right? And I just wouldn't get an iPhone for the longest time. And after a while, I started thinking that iPhone looks pretty good. That iPhone actually, that looks pretty good. When I finally got my iPhone, it was like, everybody was like, oh, you got the iPhone, you said you would never. And I was like, oh my gosh. So it's a lot like minivans for some guys. You know what I mean? You just spent your whole life like, I'm never getting a minivan. I'm never getting a minivan. I'm not getting a minivan. I'm not doing it. And then you have like twins, or you got like 5 kids. And intellectually, you need a minivan. Intellectually, you're like, that would definitely be the best choice, but you're just like, I'm not doing it. A buddy of mine just had twins, and then they have a third on the way, and he was a staunch anti-minivan representative on social media. I mean, he was ragging on people. He bought one last week. See, oftentimes, suburban's good too, right? I agree. Oftentimes, when it comes to matters of faith, it's not that we have to give up our intellect. R.C. Sproul, famed pastor, said to trust the Bible, you don't have to give up your intellect. You got to give up your pride. And I wonder if for some of us watching, when it comes to Jesus, when it comes to God, part of the reason we can't let go of our belief there is no God is just because of our pride. Like, are you clinging to atheism because you're clinging to atheism? Are you clinging to that Android because you're clinging to the Android? Are you going to be a no minivan because you said you were a no minivan? I know for me, a lot of times in my life, it's not the intellectual portion that keeps me back. It's the pride. And I've given lots of reasons, I think credible reasons. This series has been about all the reasons, but I could go till I'm blue in the face about the reasons. You could intellectually agree with the reasons. You could say, absolutely, that sounds true, that sounds good, that sounds right, but unfortunately, I can't come your way because I've said for many years I would not come your way. And I just wonder if I could push on that for just a second this morning. That maybe you're staying where you're staying because you want to stay there. And it doesn't have anything to do with what's right or what's wrong or what's intellectually correct. And I wonder if you might be willing, just be willing to dip your toe in the iPhone world. Just to dip your toe in that minivan, in that faith, and go, okay, I'll at least check it out. And that's where starting point comes in. Just come ask your questions. Come be mad. Come be angry. Come yell at us. Come be pissed off. Come be, this is stupid. Come do that. Starting point's a great place for that. So that's really the reason for this series. And one of the reasons for this idea of the evolution and talking about that last week was, for the longest time, our schools have said we cannot have God in them. And if we can't have God in them, we have to have another way to teach the story of how we got here. So we're going to teach evolution. But for many years, generations now, that has left our young people with this thought. Well, if there is no need for a God, there must not be a God, and I don't need God. And so we've left God out of our culture and out of our world for the longest time. And I'm not saying we should push Christianity back into our schools. I understand why there's a separation and we're not making it. But to say, hey, guess what? There's a way that you don't need any God. That removes him as even a possibility for generations. And all I'm saying in this series is there's a reason to believe, and it's not just dumb, blind faith. So there's one final part of the puzzle that I felt like we need to talk about. One more hurdle that a lot of people can't get past. And it's this idea of why do bad things happen? Well, why do bad things happen in this world? If God's so good, if he's so great, if he's so strong, he's so powerful, if he's good, he wouldn't want bad things to happen. If he was powerful, he wouldn't let things happen. So either he's not good or he's not powerful. But if bad things exist, it can't be God. He can't be around us. And I get that. I understand that. And so we're going to try and tackle that today. Now today, I have 21 minutes to do this. Now normally I would need 25 to answer this question. But you guys are so brilliant, you're going to pick it up in 21. So we're going to do our best to answer one of the hardest questions in the world in 21 minutes. And to do that, I'm going to start with this, that the way we actually ask this question is this. We ask, why do bad things happen to good people, right? Why do bad things happen to good people? So I want to start there by just helping you, letting you in on something that you may or may not have thought about, but that question is the wrong question because you're not good. I'm sorry. Thanks, Darren. Welcome to church. You ain't no good. No, you're just not. I mean, you think you are, you want to be, but you're not that good. I mean, how many lies do you have to tell before you're not good? What's the lie limit on goodness? How much do you have to hate your parents growing up for you to cross from really good to bad, right? I mean, my kids, I don't have to teach them to be bad. Like, they're born with it. Like, my kid, I have a 6-year-old and a 7-year-old. When I take them to school, most of the car ride is them hating each other. Like, just, get your hands off me. You touch me. You're disgusting. You're ugly. You're dumb. They don't wake up and think to themselves, like sharing, for example. They're not made to share. They're not waking up going, hey, do you have any needs that I can meet today? I just want to meet some needs that you have. No, they don't care. They're naturally selfish, right? I mean, how many times do you have to flip somebody off in traffic for you to realize, what's wrong with me? You know, funny because it's true, some of you. I mean, you don't naturally choose the good thing. You are naturally tempted to do the thing that's selfish and yell at that person and be angry and be greedy and get it for you. And like, you're naturally that way. That's the way you are wired. That's the way and I'm not talking about you. Whenever you point a finger, 3 more coming back at yourself, right? I mean, I'm pointing at me too. Like, we are naturally not good. And we think we're good because we want to be good. And sometimes we are. Sometimes we do the right thing. Sometimes we do the good thing. Sometimes we're kind to our spouse. Sometimes we're actually honoring to people. Sometimes we don't even gossip. Can you imagine that? Sometimes we don't gossip. But usually, we do. Right? Sometimes we actually forgive, but mostly we harbor that grudge, don't we? I mean, most people you forgive, but never her. We're not that good. But here's the thing. You're not very good, but you're really valuable. You're like an antique. You ever seen an antique that was worth like a ton of money and it looked like trash? You're like, that thing is worth that much? Why is that worth that much? Because it's one of a kind. It's one of a kind. You can't find that anywhere. And you are one of a kind. You are incredibly valuable. You ain't that good, but you're really valuable. And God treats us according to our value, not according to our goodness. God treats us according to our value, not according to our goodness. That is good news. It's good news. See, because today we're talking about this idea that there's a God out there who he didn't just allow the world to be not like, if evolution is true, there's nothing and then there became something and somehow life happened, and when hard things happen, when death happens, when brokenness happens, you're just on your own. But what we're making a case for is a God who brings dead things to life. A God who brings brokenness and fixes it, takes brokenness and fixes it. We're talking about a God that when he sees the brokenness of your heart and your life in your world, that you're not even that good, you're not even that great. You've got brokenness and death and all kinds of stuff that are hard in your life. And that God is the God who takes dead things, broken things, and he brings them to life. That's the God we're talking about. And he doesn't treat us according to our brokenness, our deadness, our badness, but according to our value. And the God I'm making a case for in this series is the God who rose from the dead. We have evidence for the resurrection, who left a trail. We have evidence for the Bible, and who fearfully and wonderfully, intentionally, purposefully made each one of us. And he does not treat us according to our goodness. He treats us according to our value. Romans 3:23 says that all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. We're all bad. God is the standard. He's good. God is good. And we are not. We're not good. And yet while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Because he doesn't treat us according to our goodness. He treats us according to our value. God is good. The question is, if he's so good, the better question that you should be asking, that I think we need to answer is, if he's so good, why do bad things happen to valuable people? Why do these bad things keep happening? Okay, so I'm not good, but I'm valuable. Why would bad things happen to valuable people? So we give you two answers to that today. The first one is a freebie that we already know the answer to. You already know this, but the first one is that bad things happen to valuable people because valuable people do bad things. Duh, right? I mean, you guys know this, right? I mean, I do dumb stuff. We've gotten into relationships before, haven't we? That for all the wrong reasons. And then it goes wrong, and we're like, what in the world? Like, and then we blame God for hard things in our life that we did. God, how can you let this happen? Why did she leave me after I cheated on her? I don't get it. Why would she do that? It was one time, you know? It's like, no, that's your fault. You know that's your fault, right? I mean, you're valuable, but you're not that good. You did something bad, and then bad happened. See, consequences are baked into our world. And so it's not like, hey, we're bad, don't worry about it. Just keep being bad, nothing bad will happen. No, I mean, we do dumb things, and bad things happen to us. So that's one reason that we can improve our lives so that we don't have these bad things happen. Some things we're in control of whether or not the bad happens to us, right? I mean, we can be out of shape because of our own fault, right? I can be in a situation in life, I can be financially burdened because of my own decisions, right? And then I want to blame God and say, God, how could you let me be in this spot? And he's like, you didn't need any of that stuff you bought. You'd have had money if you didn't spend the money. Like you didn't, I don't know, you know. And so some of the bad things that happen to us are our own fault. But that's a freebie. You already know that. That's not like, this guy's amazing. What a brilliant scholar this guy is. So when I do something bad, bad will happen to me. Got it. You get that already. Second thing is what I want to talk to you about today. This is kind of my answer for why do bad things happen. And bad things happen because good means nothing without bad. Like, there you go. I got one clap. Okay? As I go to, yeah. As I go, maybe I'll get more. But the point is this. You can't have good at all unless you know what bad is. Like good has no meaning apart from bad. It literally means nothing. If you said God is good, but we didn't know what bad was, what would you mean by good? You wouldn't know because there's nothing to compare it to. It's like this. Life would not be nearly as meaningful without death, right? The reason that your life is so valuable, why it's so precious, why we think so importantly of life, like why we don't want to lose life is because death is possible. If there was no death possible, life would not be so precious. It wouldn't be nearly as meaningful if there was no death, right? The bad thing in the world gives meaning to the good things in the world. Death gives meaning to life. Apart from the evil in the world, apart from the brokenness in the world, none of the good things have any meaning. You can't know what happy is if you don't know sadness. You can't know what like joy is if you haven't been discouraged. You can't even enjoy laughter if you haven't cried, right? Because it would just be, it would have no meaning. All the evil in the world, the difficult things in the world give it meaning. Let me explain it a little bit more. See, God is love, right? In 1 John 4:8 says God is love. I learned this as a kid. In Sunday school, it was 1 John 4:7-8. It said, Beloved, let us love one another. For love is of God, and everyone that loveth is born of God and knoweth God. He that loveth not Knoweth not God, for God is love. Beloved, let us love one another. 1 John 4, 7, and 8. So that was something I learned as a kid, which is why you should serve in our kids' ministry and build a foundation for those children so that they know God when they're older, right? So sign up, all right? But I learned that as a kid that God's good. God's love, right? And so God wanted a world full of love, right? If the world's going to have love, it also has to have rejection and it has to have hatred because we don't know what love is apart from it. The reason it feels so good when she says to you, you know what? I love you. When he says to you, I love you. When someone says, I choose you. Will you be my girlfriend? I'll be your girlfriend. Will you be my boyfriend? I'll be your boyfriend. The reason that feels so good is that they don't have to. They don't have to say that. They have a choice in the matter. They could reject you. And because you know the possibility of rejection, being chosen feels so good. And that's the world God wanted for us. He wanted a world full of pleasure, a world full of joy, a world full of love, a world full of variety and full of fun and full of laughter and full of peace and tranquility and beauty. He wanted that world. But in order to create that world, we've got to know the opposite. Otherwise, we can't even appreciate it. We couldn't know what it meant. It would have no meaning at all. Here's my point. The existence of suffering, it's not incompatible with a God who's all powerful and all good. In fact, it's the only option for a God who's all good. You couldn't say he's good if you didn't know the definition of bad. It's the only possibility. It's actually evidence of a good God that we have pain in this world. Because apart from pain, we would have no meaning for good. It's the only possibility for God, a logical God, to create a world where there's both love and evil, good and bad. See, his goodness, though, his goodness does not stop, and his power is not limited because he allows pain. Just because he allows it doesn't mean his goodness is limited or his power is stopped. What I love about God is that he was honest with us about it. John 16:33 says this. Jesus said, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I've overcome the world. And you and I both know that some of the most difficult things in our world have been the very things that have grown us the most. Some of your greatest pain has developed your greatest good. Some of your greatest pain has brought about your greatest good. This is true in so many categories. Take childbirth, for example. I mean, that ain't easy. Painful. A lot of pain. We were just talking about this the other day with my wife, and I'm amazed women have more than one child. Amazed. But through that pain comes the greatest gift in the world, that child. They put that child on your shoulder, and all of a sudden the pain was worth it. Because good came from the pain. The cross is a great example. That God said, I'm not just going to leave you in your pain. I'm going to come down there and get in the mess with you. And Jesus, he dies on the cross in great pain. The worst thing that ever happened, in great anguish. And yet from the worst came the best. Because of that pain and that death and that resurrection, we get to have life. We're given life because of that. And in the worst, we get the best. I don't know if you've ever been to the top of a mountain before. At the top of a mountain, it's a beautiful view. You feel accomplishment. You feel like good exercise. This is amazing up here. I can see far and wide. The air feels good up here. It's good at the top of a mountain. But if you look around, ain't nothing growing up there. All the growth has happened down in the valley. Growth happens in the valleys of our lives. Growth happens in the difficult places of our lives. God uses the challenges and the low points to grow us into the people that he wants us to be. Here's what we know about God. He had to create a world where there was good and bad for us to understand good at all. But he did not just leave us alone in that world to suffer on our own. He came, and not only did he die for us, but he gets in the mix with us so that in the middle of the mess, we don't just suffer, we grow. And there's a God who's working all things. He's a God who makes dead things alive. And the dead things you're carrying today, he will bring to life if you'll let him. I'm going to tell you a story to end today. Not too long ago, 2 months ago, I got a phone call from Angie Castor, who goes to our church. I've asked for permission to tell this story from all parties involved. And Angie said, hey, my daughter needs to talk to you. I said, all right, what's going on? She said she needs to talk to you because she just lost her fiance. Her fiance took his life in a tragic, low moment, in a uncharacteristic moment of pain and sorrow. He took his own life, and she's really struggling, and there's a baby on the way. And I said, all right, let's meet. So that day, we meet the next day, and she brought her daughter, and her stepdaughter came as well. And the stepdaughter said to me, and she's here today as well, said, I don't know if I'm allowed in here. I don't know if I believe in God. I don't know if God would even, I don't know if God's real. I don't even know that I'm allowed in here. And I said, you're allowed in here. And after some time talking, both of them said they would want to go to Starting Point and check that out. And that stepsister will be getting baptized. You get to hear her story on March 14th, right? That's one thing that God did with the pain, but that's not really even what I want to talk about. That's bonus. That girl, Emma, that's her name, said, I want to go to Starting Point. She goes to Starting Point. She starts getting connected to our team. Our team starts going, we want to help you. We want to be in the middle of this mess with you. We don't want to just leave you. We've heard your story. We want to help you. And so we start talking to her. And so this past week, we interviewed Emma to see if she'd want to work with our team a few hours a week to be a part of our team here at the church on staff. And so Emma, I got to tell Emma this morning, Emma, we're hiring you. So you have a job here at New Vintage that we're going to have you be a part of. And Emma, I know your life is going to go, God's going to do amazing things. But then I need your help with something else too, because see, this whole idea that God doesn't just leave us in our mess, he actually gets in it with us. He tells the church to go and do the same. He says, once you know me and you know what I've done for you, now go do the same for others. Go get in the middle of the mess and help people. Be people who actually care. And so I made a promise to Emma that I need your help with. Emma, in this whole thing, lost her car. It's part of the story. And so she's been at home for 2 months, no car, hasn't been able to work, just starting to work with us, baby on the way, and needs a car. And so I told Emma on Wednesday that we'd get her a car. So we got to get her a car. And we can't give everybody a car. We can't run around just buying everybody a car, okay? So, but sometimes we can buy somebody a car. And so I want to buy Emma a car, and I don't want to buy Emma a trashy car. If you have a car in your front yard, your wife's been trying to get you to get out of your front yard, that's not the car we want, okay? But we want to get Emma a reliable car that's not going to need maintenance, not going to need a bunch of work. Like, we want to be able to get her a nice car so that she can get around. And until we get her a car, I'm putting the church's credit card on her Uber account so she can get around as needed. So if you want to give today, sometimes you go, what am I giving to? You're giving to Uber today. If you want to give today, that you're going to help Emma get around for a while, or you can give directly to a GoFundMe that was set up for Emma. That you can just Google this, GoFundMe, Emma Castor. You can just, Google that, and it will tell you what to do. Now, have you ever been to church before that during the offering time, the church said, hey, tell you what, Emma Castor needs money to buy cars and to live life. And so today, if you want to give today, here's what I need you to do. Go to her page, go to GoFundMe and give there. You go, but doesn't the church want my money? No, don't give it. You don't even have no money today. We don't need your money. We don't want your money. I mean, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying like we don't need it to survive. What I'm saying is we're not after your money. We're after money for the good of those in our community to help the world around us. That's what we're after. So if it goes to Emma Castor first today, I'm fine with that. We need to help Emma today. So Emma's first. If you want to give today, just hit GoFundMe. It looks like this, by the way. This is what it will look like when you get there. That's Emma. And see? But the point is we need to get her a car. And the point is we need to do for those that we can do for when they come into our midst. And so maybe you're here today and you go, I could pay for a car. Then let's get her a car. Maybe you say, I could contribute to a car. Then let's contribute to a car. I would help her with stuff for the baby. Let's help her with stuff for the baby. I want to throw her a baby shower. Whatever we want to do. We just want to serve. We want this young woman to know that when you're at New Vintage Church and you're going through pain, you got a whole bunch of people around you that want to help. And we're going to do for you what God did for us. That God met us in our mess, and we're going to meet you there as well. But maybe today you're sitting here and you've got your own Emma story. And you've got something in your own life that you're feeling like, what about me? I'm going through hell. I'm going through pain. And I need some help too. Well, guess what? We want to help you too. You're not alone either. So if that's you, you're going through hell, you're going through pain, you just email us, info@newvintage.org, Darren@newvintage.org. Just reach out to us and let us know. There's all kinds of ways. We're going to put this on our social media, Instagram, Facebook. You can connect with the GoFundMe. But what we want for this church, for the people of this church, for this city, is to know that this place, yeah, we live in a broken world. It's the only possible world we could live in. But God didn't leave us in our mess, and we're not going to leave you in yours either. So as we sing this last song, I want you to think about, what's your part today? Can you help? Do you need help? What way do you want to be in the middle of this mess together? Let's sing. You can stand if you want.
When I can't find the words, when I can barely breathe, falling on my knees. Heaven help me. When I can't feel you near, when I can't feel you speak, falling on my knees. Heaven help me, heaven help me. Help me, help me, 'cause I can't walk this road alone, and I can't do this on my own. Tell me, I just need to hear you say everything will be okay. I don't understand, and I don't think I can. I know you have a plan. Heaven help me, heaven help me. Help me, 'cause I can't walk this road alone. I can't do this on my own. Tell me, I just need to hear you say everything will be okay. Help me believe it, I can't see it. Help me know it, I can't hold it. Help me believe it, I can't see it. I can find the words when I can barely breathe, falling on my knees. Heaven help me.
Thank you all for coming. I just got a text from someone who just gave to the GoFundMe saying, hey, when you give to GoFundMe, they ask you if you want to share it. What if we just blasted that everywhere across our social media and just got this thing crazy going through the roof? So if you do give, whether it's $5 or $10 or whatever, just pass it on. Pass it on to somebody and see what happens this week. We want to tell you next week just how well it went. I bet we're going to have really good news next week to share with us as a family. And speaking of family, next Sunday is Mother's Day. Kona Ice will be here as a treat for moms and families. We have a few more special things coming. Adon Mendoza is giving a great message next week on family and moms. So it's going to be awesome. He's our Spanish pastor, community pastor. Going to be a really fun Sunday next week. Don't miss it. We'll see you next week. Thanks for coming. And if you're new and you want a gift, we got something for you right back here at our VIP. I'll see you right there. Adios.